Hi everyone. We are going to be reacting to some of our old work together, things that we've done together over the years.
Over the 16 years.
years. I think we should take a look at back in the day. So for those of you guys that don't know, I found her profile on Model Mayhem back in the day, and I'm like, this woman I'm going to shoot her as a pinup.
I wasn't on it that long before Nick messaged me and she's like, hey, we should do some Betty Page type photos. And literally that moment changed our lives forever.
Yeah. It kind of, somehow the kismet worked out, and it literally changed both of our lives forever. She eventually kind of talked to me on the other side of the camera too, because I was not about to do that. I was not feeling it. She took me to my very first shootout as a model, and that definitely changed my life. And from there, Los Angeles happened.
One the thing with
Look
us
at
is we
you.
instantly clicked. It was just one of those of we got each other right away.
Yeah.
And to the point of we started, even at that point, we would finish each other's sentences.
And I would have this thing, have you seen that short of Rihanna?
What?
Giving, saying,
No.
oh my God, hold on, we gotta find that right fast.
Look at the face.
So why that is hilarious to me is because people that don't know Rihanna, she's like, why is she giving the stank face? Like, why is she hating?
Not.
And she's not.
She's doing the complete opposite.
She is being like, wow, you're amazing.
She's like, oh my God,
yes.
you.
So when Jenn and I would work together, I would look at my camera and apparently I would do the Rihanna stank face.
Well, she would also when she was shooting me, literally be like, don't move. Don't you move. Like,
I get so angry, like, don't you
people would hear us together and they'd be like, oh my God, she's abusive.
I was passionate. Right? When stank face is a compliment. Okay, so this is what I thought was from our very first photo shoot.
No.
I don't remember anything.
Who cares? This is Miss Cherry Baby's debut. That was my baby puppy. Oh.
This one was, wow.
Alara Images.
I was doing hair and makeup and photography at the same time, and I remember doing this hairpiece for you. Actually, I do remember that one. That's when
we were talking about looked like Minnie Mouse ears or something.
And look at how fucking sweet and innocent you look. It's all lies.
I don't know about that. This is from the first photo shoot. Wait, this is literally the first photo that she edited of me or anything. And it's funny because this was such a huge thing for me because I look like I have no pants on. I had these silk shorts on, these night shorts. And basically they fell down, but she actually moved them where you couldn't see. So this was my first teaser.
Yep.
And this was you don't understand, this was a huge deal for me because when I started doing pinup, I literally one of my first shoots, I came out in not even that crazy lingerie, and I was like, yeah, because the whole thing was I was not comfortable with my own skin. It's one of those things of it started the journey of me of getting over myself and being comfortable with myself and figuring out who I really was. Yeah. So this was a huge deal for me, and I had so much anxiety, but at the same time I loved it. And this photo literally launched our careers.
Yeah, I loved this photo shoot. I just knew I'm like, we are going to make some art together.
Yeah.
This is happening. And it did. And it continued to do. And
we've always been very telepathic with each other too.
Oh, yeah.
Of that was just, we've just always been really connected.
And there would be points, sometimes I will, once I get in certain headspace, especially creative headspace, I call it visual mind. And I lose my words. I can't speak words with my mouth. So I would just point and grunt and she would know exactly where to go, what to do.
It was either a grunt or a cuss word.
That. Fuck. Speaking of amusing.
This is the second photo shoot. And this was a big deal because this was like more fetishy. And like I had never, ever, ever, ever done anything like this before. And the whole thing is there's so much with me that I would never have done if it wasn't for her. Because she always made me feel comfortable. Also, she's a safety girl. And a big thing about stuff like this is it can be dangerous to the point of we ended up our first workshop teaching stuff like this because it became so popular. We were like, people were getting hurt.
Yeah, exactly.
They didn't know what they were doing. And people, like, you can literally lose limbs.
Yeah, you could lose like permanent nerve damage. It's just, it's so dangerous if you don't know what you're doing, not only as the person tying, but also as a model. You have to know how to hold your body.
Yeah.
Right? You really are relying a lot on your core so that you're not sort of putting pressure. Because at the end of the day, as a model, you can't have road marks. No. You have to go on to the next look and the next shoot or what have you. So, that is one of the first things
you can't push against it.
Mm-hmm. Yes. And I don't know what this was. I was just obsessed with this ridiculous antique velvet.
Yeah, you're like,
lamp.
I have to do something with this because I've always wanted to do it, and it was one of those
of
like,
she just looks like an Italian Madonna. It was a joy to take her photo. Let me just tell you. Hi, do we have a friend?
You are so mouthy.
She has opinions. She apparently also is obsessed with this photo.
French face off.
This is us
this is our first shoot together. I think.
And she really did get me out of my shell in a lot of ways, and so
well, we both did. That's the whole thing of like we trusted each other instantly.
Yeah,
and that's a big deal for both of us, really, because we're just not like that.
No. And she was saying earlier, this is a photo that we used to market our very first book together, which is based on those workshops.
Yeah, but the thing is, everything with us organically changes depending on what's going on, because our first workshop was literally a bondage boot camp.
Yep, it was.
To teach that. And with different things, the first festival we had, and she came back from LA, was we started opening up, because before we just had it for models and photographers, and then we started opening up to other people because of that.
Yeah. Because
of teaching that. And we watched them within 3 hours change, like get confidence and all that kind of stuff. And that's really what started like Pinup Boot Camp of the people.
Exactly. It morphed itself into that. Like we didn't
do anything. No,
it came to us, right?
Yeah. And that's the way we work.
Mm-hmm. And so to explain, the boxing gloves, it was for Pinup Boot Camp. So we weren't really fighting. Oh, speaking of not really fighting, this is
just the funny thing about this is completely the polar opposite of how we are. Like she's literally the last person in the world that would stab me in the back, unlike some other people. But she's literally, that's why this is just so amusing, of like, this is literally the biggest lie there ever was.
It is. This is called acting, darling. Speaking of acting,
this was a festival together. This was a festival, and she came from LA, and that's when we did our workshop and where it changed everything. And this was our first performance together.
Yep.
The Queen of Pain, where, in the end, she is the Bunny Yeager to my Betty Page. It really is,
It really
to the point of like, she and Bunny Yeager both have red hair. I was one of those of like, I wasn't trying to be Betty Page.
No, but you didn't have to
and
be.
That's the whole deal.
You didn't have to try. What I love about this is I was going to do a big reveal where I was going to strip out of my little black dress.
Oh, and by the way, this is the first time I met her mother.
Yeah, my mother came to
and she came to the performance, which is just really ridiculous and hilarious.
And the girls, I mean, they embraced my mom's name, Patty, and so the girls named her Patty Cakes, and that's her burlesque name.
I still call her that.
I love that. I love that. But the big funny about this is I did strip out of this dress, and I don't know if you can tell from the lining, but I'm actually wearing a leopard colored exact replica of this black dress. So my big reveal was another dress.
Your mom was so nervous too, because you told her, you're like, listen, Mom, like she like set up the whole thing to scare the crap out of her. And then it was just one of those of like, ha ha. She saw it. She's like, really?
It's so good.
It was so funny.
So good. Okay, and this
is an actual, like, this is a photo, but I made it some filter or something.
Right. It is. I haven't seen this filter. This one's cute. Oh, look
Isn't it cute?
Look at what
Someone
they did
just
to my
messing
tattoo.
with stuff.
That's pretty. Yeah.
Just messing with stuff.
This is when she came to visit me. She actually flew into LA to visit me, and we did performances there. We did photo shoot. Man, workshops. We ate. We left no crumbs.
Well, and that's how I rolled in LA. Like literally, I would be there for a week and just be working for a week.
Yes. And this was speaking of pinup, I got to live in an amazing pinup house.
Oh my god, that was just awesome. The quirkiest, coolest thing. Just so many things in it that were like amazing for photo shoots. It's just all hilarious.
Hilarious. I mean, look
at that sassiness. Look at the chair.
Look at that chair. Ugh. Look at Jenn. I mean, and then this one we actually.
That's the back of Pinup Boot Camp. That's the photo that was used in the back of Pinup
in the book. I love that. And then us looking innocent.
You know, I'm more innocent minded and stuff, but it usually is wrong.
I had a big culture shock, if you will, when I moved to LA.
That was a different world.
Especially considering my profession before I retired. So that said, that's kind of what I was into here so many years ago. And
that was a huge deal because I couldn't have done it. Like, that was a huge deal of, like, I could not have done that. That props to you, because literally I probably would have melted.
Oh, it was awesome.
Moving to LA, having a whole culture shock, having a whole, like, changing your life up. Okay. There is some kind of entity or some kind of thing going on. Like, this is just the way this house is, especially if there's, like, outside. It's like...
It will talk to you.
There are fae. And stuff like this happens of, like, there are two lights above us, and literally one will shut off randomly. And I was telling her, we were, like, sitting around here, and I literally energetically felt like the whole energy shifted when the light changed. And it just did it again. Like, literally, like... the energy shifted. It's like,
I think it's excited because we're working together again and actually making art.
It just wants to make its debut too.
It's like, hi, I'm here. I'm the house. I'm the character.
Also,
yes,
I'm here. So if I'm here,
so
I attract everything. If there's some kind of anything here, it's like, oh, Jenn's here. I need to talk to her. Yes. I need to be known.
Hello, Jenn. This is the house. I need to talk to you. Well, that was fun.
Yay, nostalgia.
Yeah, nostalgia.
That's just so weird. Time is so weird.
Time is weird.
It really is. They're like, time gets faster when you get older. It really does. It's like, what? Like 16 years? That sounds incredibly ridiculous.
Our friendship has its learner's permit. It's driving around for mom getting groceries. It's picking up his little brother from karate practice. Yeah, so we've done some stuff.
We've done, well, that's the thing too, of like, we have literally done 10,000 things.
A whole bunch of things.
As I said, with us, it's like organic of like, what's the need out there and where we are with stuff, you know? But it's just so funny, like the transformation of us too, of we really are different people. Like when I met her, she was pretty much a boy.
Oh yeah. I was different because my circumstances were different. And, you know, we both of us have evolved so much over the years, you know, for better or worse in times, right? But here,
well, that's learning.
Here we are. Yeah.
That's learning of like life lessons happen, and it's just getting through those. This is my favorite thing that's ever happened, of realizing that I'm spectrum, because it makes everything make sense scientifically, and with my brain, because I got the spiritual side, now we're on the science, and now everything's coming together, and I'm literally remembering things, because I always talk about my brain of like, I have my drawers of where things are, and because it's celiac, I can't always access those drawers.
Compartments.
Yes.
Real.
But I feel like there was a big box that said spectrum, and now it's open, and it's like all these things keep coming out of the box, and it's just like, I'm remembering things that I absolutely totally forgot, and I'm remembering in detail of like, oh my god.
It's nice though when you know Not that labels are great, but it's nice to know what you're dealing with.
Exactly. I hate labels, but at the same time, I'm like,
it's good to be validated. Be like, you know what? This
I'm embracing
makes so
myself.
much sense. Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
all of
It's like,
myself.
oh, that's why I did that. That's why I felt
Exactly.
this way. That's
And
why I communicate in this weird
exactly. And the
way.
the people misunderstanding you, because there's so many things like relating. Like you will talk to somebody and they'll be talking about something and they'll say like a story, you'll be like, oh, this about yourself, and then they'll be like, oh, this person's a big egotistical jerk and a narcissist.
Or they think you're trying to like one up them.
That's what I'm saying.
And
I'm like, you're not. I'm just like, oh, I'm relating to you.
Yeah.
I'm relating to you. I'm so excited.
Yeah,
like, but they're like, stop talking about yourself.
Exactly.
Stop talking about yourself.
Well, it's because we feel so isolated that when there's a moment for connection, you jump into it and you don't realize, oh, social norms mean.
And also,
that
you're connecting with the human.
That. So
you're connecting with the human,
yeah.
which we never felt like a human. No. I thought humans were fascinating.
Absolutely.
But I did not think I was one.
That's another thing I would like to talk about. Gossip. Okay? Oh. So it's bad to talk about people. It's bad to talk about personal things about people. We all know that. I mean, especially if you're talking smack, right? However, she and I will find ourselves talking about people in general, people we know, but we're not talking about them. We're saying, isn't it interesting that this human acted this way towards this stimulus? What is that about? What does that mean? Have you seen that before?
We're breaking down the psychology of
it. And we're just trying to understand the world around us by looking at people and observing people. And
that's something I've always done, like people watching, like, all that stuff.
If you guys were like listening in or eavesdropping, be like, oh wow,
there's some gossipy little bitches over there.
And we are talking about people,
but we're more analyzing them and trying to like figure out stuff, because I know the biggest issues I've had in my life is thinking someone thinks like me.
And realizing that they don't.
Not
always.
I'm much more diplomatic.
Yeah,
I'll be
like, hey, Jenn, sick 'em, because I know she's going to be more diplomatic than me,
Because I've learned. Yeah. It's one of those, like, I stop it. I had absolutely no filter when I was younger, and then there were different points in my life where I didn't again, but at this point, I've learned to, like, stop and try to pause and step back from the situation to see what it really is, and not put myself into it. Not put my emotions into it and what I would think into it, trying to see it for what it really is.
And that's the good thing about evolution, and that's the good thing about change. Change isn't always scary, and it's not always bad. Sometimes it's how we grow and learn, and you might not like it, and it might hurt and suck at the time, but imagine how much we've gone through and come through, and how many types of evolutions we've been, right? Like, it's more evolutions than the evolutions.
Well, when we met, too, of the stuff that was going on, because you met me literally a few years after my first, like, dissociative, when I came back, and I was just a mess and wasn't able, it's like one of those of, like, you have no confidence at that point. I felt guilty about so many things that happened when I was dissociative, because I always have good intentions, but when you're dissociative, you really don't. You still think you're doing things okay, and you still think that you have good intentions, but a lot of times it's forced almost, and it can affect other people's lives in, like, a negative way, and you don't even realize it, because you're like, oh, well, I have good intentions, but you're in such a bad place that you get confused and mess up everything and create a bunch of chaos.
Yeah.
I know that's happened with me, at least.
Yeah. I think in moments like, you really know who your friends are, and
who really understand
you. And whether they understand you or not, like, I've had dear friends, lovers, and literally have said, I don't understand you, but I love you. And if that's not the sweetest, most wholesome thing to ever say to somebody, because you don't have to understand to accept someone and to love them for who they are, we don't need to argue and convince each other that our way is the right way or their way is the right way, or there's just one point of view. It's just more like, can you accept me, and can you love me for the weirdo person that I am.
Well, and also the thing of like with people of like you're trying to help them and they think you're a know-it-all. They think you know everything when you're just trying to share and you're trying to help them. And I've had so many times, like North Carolina was the big time with that. Of like I had more people with that not get me.
That is so
and put
real.
me in I was a bad guy.
I've had multiple times in my life where I wish I had a friend who would tell me what to do, or somebody who would say,
call me out.
Yeah, stuff. Tell me, like, or to say, this is what I had to learn the hard way.
Yeah.
Learn from my mistakes. Like, give me something. And so I feel like if I'm that friend, then I'm doing them a favor because you're in pain. Yeah. I went through something similar. This is how I learned. Let me help you.
But that's the thing about
not being
in the place of being diplomatic now too with me and I can still be very blunt depending on the person. Because I know the people that can handle it, and sometimes people need a little extra jolt of things, but I never mean it in a mean way. Sometimes I see, no, not me.
No, sometimes I do. But you got to earn it now. I'm not. Yeah. That is something like having to learn how to say, do you need an ear or do you need help?
Yeah.
And that's like a phrase I had to find because no one ever said that to me.
But you just instantly, being the people we are, we take care of people.
Yeah.
But that's who we are. People just don't recognize that of like, we're, that's who we are. Right. We're mamas. Yeah. We're mamas to people. And, some people just don't get that of like, you're literally always trying to help them. You literally always have other people's well-being in mind, but people think the complete opposite of you.
I agree. And it's like,
they think you're being bossy. They think you know it all. They think you're like a hateful jerk.
I try to be the friend that I would like to have. Which means tell me when there's, tell me when I'm doing something stupid, please.
Like, I appreciate the blunt friends because it's one of those of like, you can't.
If you're gonna run around acting like an asshole, and you're seeing your friend running around acting like an asshole, and you don't say anything, you're not a good friend.
No,
you're not.
No,
I'm sorry, because you're just letting other people silently judge them while you are also, in a way, silently judging. So,
and people get in their heads and they think that you're going to react badly to it. They're like, they're not going to listen to me.
How do you know?
Why don't you give me a chance?
Yeah, thank you.
There's so many different things of like situations that happened, and then years later getting out of that situation, and they're like, oh, I didn't think you were going to listen to me. I'm like, why didn't you even try?
Right.
Like, oh, I saw this person said this to me. Oh, that could have saved me 2 years of being like controlled by this person.
That's real too.
The gaslighting and everything else.
I would rather know. I mean, it doesn't, I'm stubborn as hell.
At least
you
give
can't
me the
tell
chance.
me nothing, but give me the chance.
Yeah. I might not listen, but that's on me.
Exactly.
At that point.
Yeah, I'm that kind of friend. I'm like, I would rather know that I said something because then I can sleep at night.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But also like with me of like, as I said, going back to secrets of like, I would take care of everybody else, but I never felt like I had an ear. I never felt like I didn't want to be vulnerable.
Right.
And I didn't want to put my stuff on somebody else. And that was a big thing too, but I wasn't giving them a chance to help me. I wasn't giving them the gift that I allow myself, because that's the whole thing of like give and take. I basically was blocking off that.
I know what you mean.
Trying to do it all myself.
Yep.
Just because I didn't want to burden somebody. Like I felt like it was a burden. I really did.
Yeah.
But I wasn't giving them that gift to be able to help me.
I know what you mean.
And then you and I were separated. Like we always did that with each other, but at the same time, there's so much time we spent away from each other on the other side of, the US.
We did. It was crazy to think like we did so much really, like you were saying, like career changing, life changing work together, and then we were seperated.
But then we would always come back together and be at the same place.
We would.
And
I would travel, she would travel. We were always doing things. We were writing books remotely. And then, it evolved. When it was time for me to make my nonprofit, I knew exactly who to call. Okay, because I needed a vice president. And I'm like, who? Let me just take a second. No, obviously. And we're still doing things. together. We are working right now on our, I think, 4th book.
Third.
So this will be our 3rd book.
Yeah.
Okay. And with this, I'm really excited about it. We have a book called The Spark Process, which is basically like how to reclaim your spark by reimagining and repurposing SMART goals, which is how you can actually achieve things in the world. Is process oriented because that's kind of how the way we've had to learn. So it's really sort of melded into that. And right now we're working on this book about narcissism and how to apply the spark process to that. If you have any narcissists in your life and resources that you can go to and stuff, and it was actually her idea.
Well, and it's one of those, it's what popular, but also like it's necessary.
It is necessary.
It is so necessary because there's so many different relationships that can be, including the people of like them realizing they are.
Exactly. And also if you're the type of person like us, maybe you can't really pick up on social cues or clues or
you think
hints.
people are innocent. That's the whole thing. You people think people have innocent intentions.
And sometimes, you might unintentionally be a victim of a narcissist without ever even knowing it, simply because you don't recognize the signs. So this is kind of to help people take more empowerment in the relationships that they're building, and to also be able to recognize potential toxic situations, because you can feel that energy. Like you can work in a toxic work environment without realizing that it's a narcissistic work environment. You're coming home, you're more tired than you normally would be doing that kind of job. You're sick all the time. Yeah, and
draining.
If you don't know how to deal with it, you're just going to make yourself sick. And that's something that we both lived.
Well, this is why my celiac kicked in.
So
it was like my big life lesson of like, you need to take care of yourself. You actually need to take care of yourself. Hey, person that takes care of everybody else, you need to take care of yourself, because you're pouring out of an empty cup. Yeah. You're being drained. You're literally, it's one-sided. It's not give and take. It's literally like being drained.
Yeah. And in our very first book, The Pinup Boot Camp, we even say that, when it comes down to it, kind of like when you're flying in a plane, the stewardess say, put your oxygen mask on first before you help others. And, that's so important as a life lesson, because it's not always readily apparent.
But also, it's not, even with trying to get good habits and everything, it is still not an automatic.
Yeah, exactly.
It's still one of those things of having to use your skills, having to use your tools to recognize I need to rest, and I need to be okay with whatever anybody thinks about it. Because some people just don't understand. They think you're a flake. They think, you don't care.
That's part of the spark process too, is inner work, first and foremost, so that the outer world makes more sense to you. And it's awesome being here and talking to her and going down memory lane, looking back at some stuff that we've done.
And this is crazy too, because this is the closest we've ever lived together.
Yeah, I know. Even back then, she would travel and spend the day with me.
Like an hour and 10 minutes.
Yeah.
Before, and now it's like 30 minutes.
Mm-hmm. So, keep watching and like and subscribe, because we're going to keep doing this as long as we can.
Also, if you have any topics, please don't be shy and hit us up with it. If you have any questions for us, any of that kind of stuff, because, these lights again.
Oh my gosh, y'all.
Again,
did y'all see that?
Whatever it is trying to be like, hey, I'm still here, by the way.
The ghost of the house is like, yes, leave comments, leave questions.
But that's also like, this is my last hurrah in this video. I'm like, I'm still here.
Like, hi. Yeah, we see you. We hear you. Ghost of the house. I love this place.
I have staged this place so many times. You just don't even know.
Yeah, this ghost is staying. All right, guys. It was amazing. We'll see you next time.
We love you.